LSU football is just around the corner. Spring football in full swing, helping us break down the Tigers, talk everything that's been going down in Baton Rouge over the last few weeks. You know him, good friend of mine, good friend of the show, Blake Ruffino, AYS Sports. Join us once again. Blake, what's going on, man? Appreciate you taking the time. Excited to talk some LSU football, an important spring ahead of another important season.
Well, if you were to see my comments on Twitter, spring football doesn't matter, Chris. That's when LSU's not on the verge of winning a national title, and Joe Burrow or Jaden Daniels isn't going off. It's not spring football doesn't matter. At least that's what I'm told. But we have been out there for 3 full practices, Chris. I've been busting our ever-living asses in reference to this. I feel like every time I come on here and talk football with you, I feel like the pressure every time for Brian Kelly and this team continues to build. I'm not going to say like Clemson's the biggest game in the Brian Kelly era or nothing like that. But what I will say is I feel the pressure in April, right? Like I already feel it. Like I was talking to a booster the other day and he was telling me, he goes, bro, all right now. And I'm like, look, don't yell at me. I'm telling you what I see. I only get paid to tell you what I see. But this spring has brought, if we're just being honest, for the first time, it feels like in a long time, maybe LSU's found a little bit of defense, Chris. And I'm getting chill bumps thinking about that defense that I've been seeing out there the last couple of days.
Blake, let's start on the defensive side then. You mentioned the defense. We'll save the offense after. A lot of new faces. That kind of feels like the theme, Blake, of this LSU team to a degree. It was very apparent last year, and you and I talked a lot about the defensive side, really this entire football team, but especially defensively. Blake Baker did a great job, first-year defensive coordinator there. Folks very familiar with him, but he did a really good job, I think, with an undermanned group. But it was obvious you need to go out and get some ball players. Go out to the portal, get some big-time names. You did that, getting guys like Jack Pyburn, Patrick Payton, Mansour Delane, Tamarcus Cooley, a couple of different guys as well, some other guys. You do have some returners. Obviously, Harold Perkins is back. Whit Weeks. The Honky Badger, he is back as well, most notably.
God, I forgot about the
Honky Badger. Dominic McKinley returns up front. Your thoughts, again, you mentioned you like what you're seeing from the defense. I mean, I'd like to think year 2 of Blake Baker, you'd expect a big jump, and obviously that starts now.
Well, see, here's the thing that got lost, Chris, in the defense a year ago. They still made a massive leap. In the beginning of the season, look, I'm not patting myself on the back. I'm not trying to do that. When I'm just trying to say, I'm trying to give context to this. The beginning of the season last year, I said this was a top 55 defense. They finished at 57. Okay. Just based off of what I saw, they went from the high 90s to the mid 50s. It's a massive leap. Now, LSU was not good enough defensively to their standard of what they've built the last 2 decades of what LSU is defensively. Now, getting into this year, I do think that the Blake Baker impact did get missed, to your point. Minus Harold Perkins, minus a lot of things. You know me better than most. So people will watch this and be like, oh, this isn't a good comment from him, or he's just, it's a fluff piece. That I've been more critical on LSU probably than anybody that covers that team. I try to be as real as I can. Chris, I think that there's a very strong chance they might be borderline at edge, elite at edge. Like, I think that Jack Pyburn, look, I don't know if Jack Pyburn from Florida will ever record a sack at LSU. I have no clue. Don't do a rep 100%. We'll see what happens. He will take his helmet off, and you're about to throw them hands. And to me, I love that because I don't think that LSU, for what it's worth, has had a dude. Like, Chris, you've been in locker rooms. I've been in locker rooms. When you don't go all out and you have to be accountable to a teammate, and that dude can, and he's crazy and he's got a thick neck and he might be a little outside of his box. You ain't going to mix up with that dude. I don't give 2 Rudy Poos who you are. I do think that there is a potential chance that LSU with Patrick Payton, Gabe Relaford, who has been my number 1 biggest riser in all of spring, not close, and Jack Pyburn, Chris, it has the chance to be something absolutely special. Now, Florida State, when Patrick Payton came in, Florida State fans said, oh, hey, he doesn't give full effort. Nobody gave full effort on your 2-10 team. Nobody did. Chris, think about this. It snowed more in Tallahassee in January than the wins that Mike Norvell and that team had last year. That's how bad they were. I saw him in the red zone in a scrimmage this year from the backside, run down a running back and make a stop on 4th down. If you're doing that in the spring game or the spring practice, you will do that in the fall. LSU has lacked that. So that is the point that I'm trying to make here. I think edge, and then with Gabe Rutherford, I didn't even bring him up really, but even with him, he is a tweener. He's really good against the run, and he's very slippery getting to the passer. He's been the biggest riser now going into his sophomore year. So for me, when we talk about defensively, Chris, what has LSU's biggest struggle been over the last 2 years? They can't stop a quarterback that can run the football. What is Jack Pyburn and Patrick Payton's biggest strengths? Good luck. I mean, they've shown that is a big strength for them to be able to stop the QB run game. LSU lacked there. The other position I would say here, Chris, that has been not as equal, but damn near close to it, has been corner. Now, you brought up Mansour Delane out of Virginia Tech, but LSU went and got the number one corner in the country, a true freshman in DJ Pickett. Hello. Chris, I saw a dude in Chris Hilton and Barrion Brown from Kentucky who might be two of the fastest wide receivers in the conference. I saw him get beat off of the initial rep on a post route and make up probably 7 yards because he's 6'3", 6'4", and then bat a ball away in the end zone in a perfectly placed thrown ball by Garrett Nussmeier. I literally turned around to the media and go, that's what you miss. And you know me, I ain't gonna hold my words. They have been, for what it's worth. I have not been this excited for a position group defensively, more than edge and more than corner, than I've been in quite some time. And to your point, the question that you asked in the beginning was, they needed to go get some dudes. Well, I want to be reserved because, again, it's spring football. But to me, to anybody that's in the locker room that's ever played football that's worth a damn, every rep matters. Don't tell me spring football doesn't matter. Don't tell me fall baseball doesn't matter when you're building your lineup of who the guys will start, the guys that you'll go to the mound. Don't tell me it doesn't matter. Those two positions for me have been borderline edge, borderline elite, but corner has taken a massive step in what has been probably the biggest thing for me coming out of spring.
Blake, switching sides of the football, everybody's going to talk about the quarterback and Garrett Nussmeier and probably going to be anointed as the number one quarterback in the SEC by folks like you and I going into the 2025 season. But I want to talk more about offensive line and the running game. I mean, what have you seen from that? Was to me, that was LSU's truly their Achilles heel. Could not find any bit of a semblance of a consistent running game. Now you're going to try to do it after you lose some of the best offensive linemen in the country. Obviously, we know Will Campbell's gone. Emory Jones is gone.
Yep.
It's a new look running game. And I know talking to you last year too, and it's no disrespect to the guys from a year ago, but there was sort of a feeling amongst LSU folks that team, dare I say, was a little soft up front. Just at times, call it for what it is. They got punched in the mouth and couldn't punch back. Has there been an emphasis by LSU on getting more physical at the point of attack and establishing the run game? Because you feel like you've got all the other pieces. And, we were so hard on Garrett Nussmeier a season ago, but, dude, a lot of times he was just trying to have to throw them to a win. And if you have to do that more often than not, you're probably going to run into some trouble.
Yeah, so there's a couple things on the running game, and I'll try to be more brief on this one. Me being brief does not work well.
That's why we love you, Blake.
You're right. They did not. I don't know if I can say that like Will Campbell and Emory were soft at tackle. The interior got pushed around. Chris, this is an LSU spring football thing. But we talk national football. I'm going to tell you right now, you better be on the lookout for Caleb Banks at Florida. Go watch the game. Chris, he's the number one interior defensive tackle in the country. I don't give two Rudy Poos what any of y'all want to tell me. He is a dude. He physically beat LSU by himself. The disruption that he had, like if you think about that game. So I bring that up to bring up the instance of they had a lot of struggles. Running backs miss holes. Running backs did not hit the hole fast enough. They couldn't get the tough yardage. Chris, I think of like South Carolina and what LSU lacked. Sometimes Rocket Sanders put his head down and got 4 yards, and there wasn't shit you could do about it. LSU has lacked that, right? And I think of Dylan Sampson at Tennessee. They have lacked that. There is something that I do think that's not just a player thing here. Schematically, I don't understand what they're doing. Look, I am not the smartest person when it comes to X's and O's when it comes to the running game, but I'll give you an example. Like LSU, as an example, would run with a tight end on the left formation, or an H on the left side of the formation with a running back on the left side, and you would run to the right side. Well, you have numbers. The defense has numbers on the right side where you're running. Why would you not move the running back to the right of the quarterback on the side that he would play action to run the ball that way? By the way, behind Will Campbell, they would run to the right in that instance. I do think that there are a lot of things that are going against LSU more than just the dudes up front. Now, they have not been good this spring, and I'm not going to say that they have been. Sadir Mitchell, the defensive tackle out of Texas, has not been moved. God bless him. And Chris, by the time that this airs, I'll just go ahead and share. He got a little banged up today, and people are like, "Oh no!" Hopefully that all this is released. Like, don't release it until 3:00, Chris, because I don't want to get in trouble. But like, he has not been moved. But I do think that from a schematic standpoint, there have been some issues. You bring in Alex Atkins, okay, from Florida State, who's your run game coordinator, the Florida State offensive coordinator. Chris, I think that Joe Sloan and the things that he called from a passing game standpoint was pretty damn good. I think Garrett's got to get better at hitting the guys that are open and being inside the offense. What wasn't good is that, like you said, you couldn't run the football. I think that the immaturity from experience level up front in the interior has hurt you to some extent. Development has hurt you to some extent. But I got to throw it out there. So schematically, it's hurt you. I don't understand what you're doing. And here's the thing. You could say, well, Blake, we're trying to run counter, gap. We're trying to run power and sweep. We're trying to run all these different things. With a non-mobile quarterback, you are? Because in today's game, the DN that you read is never – and this is another thing that hurt LSU. The DN always crashed down on LSU to the running back. Always. Nobody feared Garrett running the football. No one. And so, Chris, I think that we want to put our thumb on one specific thing in this running game. It's not one thing. Now, again, the interior offensive line, you went and got Braylon Moore out of Virginia Tech as well, the center. They got a lot, and Josh Thompson, the guard, who's been at right tackle this spring. Chris, they're going to run probably 15 different combinations of dudes into the offensive line, okay? But they have to. They have to figure it out. The only one would be left tackle Tyree Adams, who's been really good. So, Chris, it's a lot of things. I don't think that you can look at this and say it's just one thing. But to your point, it did hurt Garrett in a lot of ways. But I think about Florida when you ran for 5 yards a carry. Well, you did have a running game. You had the ball for 40 minutes and you couldn't score. So, Chris, not only running the ball throughout the game, they couldn't run the ball in the red zone. And that's a massive thing schematically in and of itself. They're going from in a wing tee of the 1 yard line against South Carolina. The wing tee with a dude that's non-mobile. If you go out there with Jaden Daniels and you're going the wing tee, I'm like, good luck, because you're going to play action you, and that dude's going to whoop like I'm Chris Berman, okay, on Sunday night primetime. But that's a part where I don't know if they have an identity. I don't know if the identity is there to say that they know what they want to do in the running game. Can they find the one play that works? Chris, the running game, listen, as someone that played along the offensive line, find the one play. I'll tell you what ours was, 34 wedge. Run behind the right guard, see what happens. You're going to get messed up. You come up in that gap and come in that 4 hole or the B gap, see what's going to happen. We're going to uppercut you like we're Mike Tyson prime 1980s, okay? Find that, and you'll have success, and you can build off of that.
Blake, typically I would say I'm dangling the carrot in front of the audience when it comes to this Garrett Nussmeier chatter, because I'm going to save it. I'm going to push it back. But in this case, I'm more so dangling the crawfish or the gumbo with our audience that's tuned in. Either way, I'm going to save the Garrett Nussmeier chatter because I want to talk about his weapons before we get into Garrett himself specifically, because I've heard a lot of your chatter about him, which is fascinating. But it's going to be a new look at wide receiver a bit. Kyron Lacey is no more. You do pick up out of the portal 2 guys that I think can be big-time players. Barryon Brown comes in from Kentucky. Nick Anderson comes in from Oklahoma. You've got returning Aaron Anderson, who made big plays last year. Chris Hilton, who I know is like the curious case of Chris Hilton. Does he finally emerge and be the dude that I think LSU folks think he can be? And Xavion Thomas is back. So, I mean, you've got a lot of weapons also at the tight end spot. Trades Green, Bauer Sharp, I know has been turning heads in spring ball. Thoughts on the group of playmakers that QB1 has to work with, and then we'll get into QB1 specifically.
No more excuses. No more excuses. Now, can you get banged up? Can Chris Hilton get banged up again? Yes. Well, Chris, he ran 23.2 miles per hour. If he stays healthy, he might be the best. Look, when he was healthy, no one stopped him. You had a first-round safety at Oklahoma and a second-round corner at Oklahoma that did not stop him. Oklahoma defensively didn't suck. Well, what happened? He ran by you. Barryon Brown leads the SEC, broken the SEC record in kickoff returns and punt returns for touchdowns combined. They got elite speed. Elite. You can't argue it. It's not an opinion. It's an outright fact. I'm not saying they're the fastest unit in the SEC, but Jelani Watkins just tied the SEC record, and he runs track, and he's on the football team, right? Like he just, I think it was the 60 he tied, and then the 100-meter he tied. They got immense speed. Chris, who's going to be the number one? Right, who's going to step up and be that guy? They did not. They felt like Kyron Lacey was their number one last year. He wasn't. It was Aaron Anderson. And then in trying to go to Kyron Lacey, you missed out on targets to Mason Taylor. It's another big target that you're missing. But we talk about the receivers. I think this tight end room might be dangerous. Bauer Sharp that comes over from Oklahoma, and Trades Green, who, Chris, I mean, Trades Green did not play basketball for the rest of the year for LSU, and well, when you're losing like that, I'm sure it was a pretty easy decision. But people remember, a dude for Alabama went up for a three-point shot. He blocked it against Elite 18? Wasn't Alabama an Elite 18? Blocks it, gets the ball, goes down the court. Yay! That dude's playing tight end. Bauer Sharp's there, too. Is a really good receiving weapon. Nick Anderson comes in, which, by the way, when this gets released, he'll probably be out there by now. But Nick Anderson just saw his first on-field work today, okay, at practice. Chris, they just got weapons. They got dudes that have done it in the SEC. I thought Aaron Anderson was the most slept-on wide receiver in the SEC last year. Chris, he was the number 3 in receiving yards that no one talks about. No one talks about. Why? Because Kyron Lacey was there. Well, he beat Kyron Lacey in every statistical metric. What are we doing? I think that they have immense weapons. They got elite speed. With the passing game and Garrett wanting to throw the ball, there are no more excuses. I can make the case, he's got one of the best receiving cores in the conference. Again, they got to stay healthy, and it's a big question mark. But Nick Anderson, I mean, Chris was one of the top wide receivers in the portal. Barryon Brown was one of the top receivers in the portal. Chris Hilton, what he did at the end of the season, the tight end room. So you have weapons. I think that you're more explosive than you were a year ago, which could be dangerous. But what's interesting about this unit, Chris, is teams have to now play 2 high safety, okay? You can't put those safeties down in the box anymore. Now, Garrett's got to be better at getting the ball down the field more accurately, but, man, he's just got weapons all over the place. And, look, I don't know. Here would be the thing. If Garrett is on, I don't know how you attack that receiving room, even putting in the tight ends. Trades Green has lined up a receiver in some instances. Bauer Sharp has been out in the slot. It's a very interesting case to see how, like, a team like Clemson or any team coming into this would guard them. But the ultimate question becomes is when crunch time came a year ago, you could not find your rhythm. And that would be the thing when you're bringing in a lot of guys from the portal. Rhythm and connectivity is a big deal here. So I say they have weapons. They've looked good. Barryon Brown, Chris Hilton, Aaron Anderson have looked really good. Nick Anderson finally getting back on practice. So, Chris, I'm going to hold off on him. I hadn't seen him enough with my own eyes. I have a lot of expectations for him, but they just got weapons all over the place. And I will tell you this, a guy that worked himself into the ones is Destin Hill, the Florida State transfer. All right. He might be the guy that we talk about, Nick Anderson and Barryon Brown, and then Destin Hill runs out there. He's been running with the ones, and everybody's like, what's going on? Like, who is this? And so he's been looking really good too. Chris, if Destin Hill's their sixth wide receiver, good luck. Good luck. And Georgia would attest to that, even though they got blown out, Florida State did. I mean, he was the only real, good spot there.
Yeah, just looking at those pass catchers, Blake, you talk about experience, veteran guys, junior, senior, another senior. It's a lot of guys who have played a lot of football at a very high level. Let's get into Garrett. Blake, I heard you, and so I don't want to freak out LSU fans, but I tune into you here and there, and of course I caught this segment. I heard you talking about, maybe you posted a clip, but I heard you talking about Garrett Nussmeier and the turnovers, and it just goes hand in hand with him. I think we all know at this point. Again, speaking of veteran guys, this is a redshirt senior. I mean, he's been around the block, played a lot of football. Obviously, was the guy last year. The key to hit for him seems really, really simple. If he can cut the turnovers in half, like I think Blake, he could be in New York. He's that type of talent. If he cuts the turn, I believe he had 12 interceptions a season ago. Mm-hmm. Again, you cut those in half. He's got all the arm talent in the world, the weapons. He's going to put up numbers. What have you seen from him this spring? Again, like you mentioned, it's spring ball, but then again, every rep matters. So you don't want to take lightly either. Like if you're seeing turnovers happening in practice, like if you can't take care of the football in practice, how are you going to take care of it in a game? That's the key. So what have you seen from Nussmeier going into his final season, the man on campus?
This is the discussion that gets me in the most trouble, right? Because people think I hate the kid. Chris, I've had conversations with you on here. I've had him off air. I don't know what else to say. By the way, he did throw 12 interceptions. He had 5 fumbles. Okay. So 17 turnovers in a 13-game stretch. Chris, that cannot happen. Again, there's nothing wrong in saying that you cannot turn the ball over 17 times in a season. There is nothing wrong with that. So the people that come after me that are LSU fans, Blake hates him. He's too negative. But they'll miss the opening segment that you and I just had in reference to me talking about the edge position being borderline elite. Like that will get completely missed. So in reference to Garrett, it's not just him that I've lumped into this. Michael Van Buren has been doing this too now. Turnovers. Chris, we had 3 interceptions in a practice. So like when I saw Joe Burrow take a leap, when I saw Jaden Daniels take a leap, when you see players and quarterbacks take leaps, it is different than what you saw from them in the first year that they were starting. So, I don't know how else to put that. Now, Chris, Joe Sloan, the offensive coordinator, says we have been focusing on turnovers. I will make this statement. If he reduces those turnovers to, let's just say, in half, okay, so let's just round up to an even number and say he had 18. If he has 9, Chris, they're going to be in the top 12, right? They will beat Florida. They'll beat USC. Those games they'll win. That turnover margin, okay, is the reason that you get you to a playoff, or you're the outside looking in. I can make the same argument for Ole Miss a year ago with Jackson Dart against Florida. I can make the same argument with Lenore Sellers against LSU. I can make the same argument for all the teams that were in the Alabama, Milroe throwing an interception late in the game. Chris, it doesn't matter. Take Garrett Nussmeier out of it. Turnovers at quarterback will always be a massive issue. It's like walks in baseball. If you can't throw a strike, you're not going to play. It's boom, bingo, hello. He is by far one of the most talented quarterbacks that my eyes have ever seen. From a pure talent standpoint, I don't think that is a debate. I think his footwork at moments and times can be elite. He's got the arm strength. He's got arm accuracy. He gets lazy in some instances. And that's a part that, Chris, when the game went on and teams changed things up on him, think about this. Of the 12 interceptions that he threw, 10 of them came in the second half. So he didn't know what he was seeing. Now, going into year 2, how does that change? That will be the question for me. I think that, for what it's worth, and I've said this, which will get missed again in everything I just said, I think he can be in New York. I think he will take that next step. I think he can take that next step. The problem is I've never seen Garrett not be turnover prone, and it worries me. So even though I may think that he is borderline the best quarterback in the country, I also look at this and say, you got to stop turning the ball over. And if you don't do that, well, then you're going to suffer for what you want, and then your team's going to suffer. But he's been better, but there's still been turnovers. Now, here's another thing last thing I'd bring into this. The last time that I saw LSU have corner play like this, well, look, I'll call it what I see it. I mean, LSU ain't had corner play like this since probably 2022 or 2019. Not dudes like this. Not with DJ Pickett, man. No, it ain't existed. So it's a little difference from a defensive standpoint, and he's trying to figure out his wide receivers too. So, look, it's a big question mark, Chris, that when we get into fall and we get into, post-spring, that we'll have those discussions and we'll see where they go.
A comment that I know will trigger you, Blake. He's the Bayou Brett Favre, but I know you don't. You're like, there's a reason Brett Favre struggled the way he did. Only won one title because he threw the ball up every time.
Well, are we gonna forget like? Are we gonna forget like when he was with the Packers and they went up against the Cowboys that one year, or are we gonna forget when they went up against who was it? Was it Seattle maybe? And he threw 3 picks. Yeah. Well, we forget those games. Yeah. Because he threw 550 touchdowns. Like, no, we wouldn't do that. If any other quarterback did that, we would, Yeah.
I will tell you this, Blake, to your point, as we move off of this, I'm going to stick by what I said last season about Garrett Nussmeier, because he is going to be my number 1 quarterback when everybody
deserves to be.
Everybody drops their quarterback rankings. He's going to be my number 1. But he scares the hell out of me because, again, I equate him to he's the pitcher that throws 100. He's like if Paul Skeens had no control, which Paul Skeens does have control. But if he didn't, hypothetically, got all the stuff in the world. But at times, he just doesn't know where it's going. And
LSU's got that kid right now. It's Jacob Myers.
Right. That's what Garrett Nussmeier is to me at quarterback. He's the equivalent of the guy, has all the talent. He's got the nastiest stuff on the team, but it's like, can we harness it, or can he harness it? That'll be the big question.
As a pure passer, as a pure arm talent passer, even more than Joe, I put Garrett right there with him. Arm talent, I put it. Joe ain't got that an arm like that. He doesn't. I love Joe to death. Look at this. He's my Bayou God. But he doesn't. But what did great quarterbacks, Jaden, Joe, anybody that LSU fans that watch this clip, they kill you with accuracy. Drew Brees for Louisiana people. Drew Brees, you think Drew Brees had a cannon? Get out of my face with that. That noodle arm was more accurate than anything, but look, man, he would get it there, and that's Chris. He's got to be more accurate with his touch and everything. But look, man, if he does, watch out. Now, I will say this: the last 2 times you had a 5-year senior quarterback coming back, something special happened. Is that going to be Garrett? That's the question that I'll say. Now, my heart can't take that. My heart can't take it. I can't do this again. I can't do it again. But I will say that it is something, Chris, that 5-year seniors take a massive leap. Can that be Garrett?
LSU will look forward to do that. You mentioned, Blake, I think it's fascinating, the pressure in April. And like you said, I'm not going to ask you to – I feel like it's going to feel like Groundhog Day if you start telling me this is the most important game of the Brian Kelly era, because I think we said that twice last season alone. But, listen, the longer he's there, and especially as the years go by and they don't win the SEC title or they don't go to the college ball playoff, the pressure only ratchets up. It's different, especially, Blake, when you've got a season opener like they do at Clemson. And, oh, by the way, you haven't won a season opener in, half a decade? Mm-hmm. So you talked about the pressure. Is there
immense?
Is there a different feeling in spring ball this year where it's like an extra – there's another level of intensity or a sense of urgency, if you will, a little bit?
There's a massive sense of urgency. Massive sense. I'm not going to do this is the most important game again.
But at least wait till we get to the summer for that.
Well, again, the reason I say that, and you can word it however we want to word it, The question becomes, what is the headline Reno Monday morning if Brian Kelly and LSU loses? I mean,
you were accurate with those headlines because exactly what the narratives we thought they would be, that's what they were.
So. That's exactly what they were. Chaos. And listen.
And Brian Kelly, let's call it for what it is a guy that for whatever reason
people don't like him.
The national media, SEC media, fans, they are so ready to jump down his neck. Oh, they can't wait for him to fail.
Well, listen. Listen. I don't think that he would mind me saying this. He might not like it, but I don't think he'd mind it. Hey, brother, your legacy's on the line. Your legacy's on the line. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, it's not my legacy. It's your legacy. Chris, he's the winningest coach in college football right now. You don't have that title. We were talking about that in the pre-show. Like, it's your legacy. Chris, if he wins a national title, he's then in the discussion of those greats. Because it's like, look, man, he only got one. He coached for a couple more. He got to the playoffs a lot, and he finally got one at LSU. Now, I will tell you, he knows this. I know that he knows this. This place is a lot of things. People make fun of Louisiana for culture and, stupidity and a lot of different things. All right, mother, you know what? This place will go stupid on you now. And he knows that. Chris, they're yearning. They're yearning because you got to understand the greatest season of all time then came back to 5-5, 6-7. Brian Kelly brought you the SEC championship game, but you had that intention of like, man, if that's what he's doing in year one, then what happens? So, look, man, Clemson's got their own issues, and we'll talk about that as the summer gets here and all that good stuff. But the sense of urgency is massive. Chris, look at the money that they spent in the portal. Last thing, let's go by their actions. Name a team that spent more money than them.
Hard to name one. LSU, to your point, LSU put their money where their mouth was. I think again, to your point, that adds to the pressure because now the fan base says, like you said, there is no excuse. We gave you everything. We've given you everything you asked for, and we'd give you more if you needed it, but you better produce.
Chris, they came out in an article and misspoke or not misspoke. Their roster is going to be anywhere between, because of the house case, but anywhere between $18 million to $22 million this year. What? Now listen, I will say this. If they are better defensively, shit. Look, I'm getting chills because I've seen something different at edge that I ain't seen at LSU and Chris in a minute. In a minute, I got chills up my spine right now. Go ahead and mess up at edge and see what happens. Pyburn going to uppercut somebody now. Y'all think this shit's a game. It ain't a game to him. That's another thing. Some of these dudes, these mercenaries, if you will, it ain't a game for them right now. And they have not had that. Like, I'll give you an example. Pyburn was, and we're going long on this, but Pyburn was chirping. Harold Perkins is hurt and he's out there. Harold Perkins is the defensive leader. And Pyburn's like, hey, dog, then what did I say? There was a drill that guys were kind of going half speed and they're chirping at one another and they didn't go full speed and Pyburn's chirping at him. And he's saying, and Harold kind of said something to him. He goes, what did I say that was wrong? Like, if we're not going to do it here, where are we going to do it? Where are we going to do it? And I'm like, and Harold walks up to him, dabs him up. Chris, they went 11 on 11. This is 5 minutes after that interaction just happened. They got a tackle for loss by Jack Pyburn. Let it off by himself. A tackle for loss. They went. The offense went 1-8 in the red zone. They couldn't score. And by the way, they went into a 2-minute drill and they had a punt, field goal, miss. And Pyburn's going up to Perkins like, yeah, dog, we're here. And I'm telling you now, that shit ain't happened. The last time that I saw a dude chirp and say something like that happened in 19. And the dude got in a fight and his name was Joe. He fought Patrick Queen, who's 30 pounds heavier than him. I mean, that's the part where we talk about analytics, we talk about people, we talk about all this different stuff. No, sometimes leadership is the biggest thing. We'll talk about this at some other show. A&M, like for baseball, how do they beat Tennessee? Leadership's how they beat them. Because you're staring something in the face that you don't want to be a part of, and you got a dude in there that says enough is enough. Enough is enough. And that's what changes teams, Chris. Ohio State won a national title. Will Howard goes in there and says, this is on me. Enough is enough. They go and beat the dog shit out of everybody. Get out of my face with that. We talk about portal, NIL, all this stuff. It comes down to fundamental football. It comes down to fundamentals. Are you going to do what you got to do to be great? Now you got me ramped up. I got chills. I'm sweating. I mean, I'm
Pop
just
the
serious.
Molly, he's sweating. Blake, on a more little more subdued note, I don't want to kill the mood here, obviously, but LSU spring game, obviously this weekend upcoming.
Yes.
Thoughts on the spring game? What do you expect? We know it's probably going to be a little bit of a watered down version of what a typical, like everybody else. This is no breaking news or anything. Has Brian Kelly indicated what the spring game is?
I got it right here. That's what I was pulling up. So they'll go through individual drills. So nothing. Individual drills, nothing.
But fans will be able to get into Death Valley for this. Okay.
Yes, they'll be able to get, and they're doing an autograph session after the spring game.
Okay, like more of a fan day then.
More of a fan day. They will have a first half scrimmage with 2 15-minute quarters. They'll have a halftime, and then the second half is to be determined. I think they'll do situational stuff like red zone and things like that from some sources that I talked to. So they'll have a half worth of spring football. Here's what I want to see. I want to see the intensity through the roof. That's all I want to see. I don't care what happens. I mean, look, if they have a long run, you're playing a vanilla defense, whatever. I just want to see intensity. That's all I want. Show me intensity, and I'm fine with that. The spring game does not encompass the 7 times I've been out there and the 3 full practices. That's more to me what anything. So yeah, they'll have that, and then the autograph session, which is pretty cool at the end. But it's going to be very vanilla, Chris. They ran man and cover 2 last year.
Yeah, spring games kind of
on a team that sent the most pressure in the SEC a year ago. They didn't blitz once.
Can't wait for folks to overreact to whatever it is that they see. So, spring game upcoming, going to be a lot of fun. Obviously, an exciting season to follow. And again, we'll talk about it all with our guy, Blake Ruffino, this summer and leading up into kickoff in the 2025 season. Of course, if you're here, you already know myself, Blake Ruffino, our show, To Your Point. Make sure you check it out. It's just more of this. Blake, really appreciate you taking the time. For folks who may be living under a rock, don't know where to find you, tell them where to check out all your work.
Ruffino and Joe show. So, Chris, we're already starting to do these deep dives on teams. I know that spring portal hadn't happened here, but we're already talking about Texas. So I know you have a big Texas fan base. We talked about Texas. Is Penn State going to be the number 1 team coming into the country next year? I think people are massively underrating them. So we'll continue on this path of doing these deep dives. Chris, I mean, listen, I know that it seems like it's too early, but at the same time, we have probably 50 teams that we have to talk about here. And we'll do the big ones again. And then AYS Sports, wherever you listen to podcasts, number 23 in the in the Southeast. I don't know if you saw this audio podcast. We're at 23. So watch out. Your boy's coming for you. But go over there and subscribe and wherever you listen to podcasts and stuff like that.
AYS coming off the edge like Jack Pyburn.
Ready to uppercut somebody like it's Mike Tyson in 1982. 1989.
Blake, you're the man. We'll do it again soon. I appreciate you.
Peace.